We're here at Berlin Raceway. Gonna take a little drive. We got Dylan Stovall driving. Evan Shotko riding shotgun this time around. Shotko Shotgun. I like that. Is that a new nickname? Did we just find a nickname? Dylan, this is a home track for both of you guys. And what's interesting is you're going to run the full tour this year. You're looking for points. Berlin Raceway season opener. This is going to be a big one for you. And you've talked about qualifying being a struggle for you. Let's talk about a hot lap around Berlin. What is the best way for you in that 24 car? How do you find the most speed out of this place?
I don't know, like you said, I've struggled with it. I think the main thing about qualifying is, like, I've always been throttle happy, have a heavy foot, and that has cost me some spots in qualifying. But I think basically here is not burning off the right rear tire and getting in stable with the car and not overdriving the corners is something I really struggle with. And I think Evan can back me on it. This place is so characteristic. It has so many different kinds of bumps, and the way you hit a bump will affect how the car rolls. And as we come out of four, like the signature about Berlin is getting down on the apron coming off the four.
And that bottom side, as we just went through there, that doesn't look like the smoothest part of the racetrack either. Is that an area that you could really, is that a make or break area for a good lap?
I guess it could affect a lot of the race car, but I think out of two here, this is a big bump that if you hit it will really upset the race car and it'll affect your lap quite a bit.
One thing that we're already noticing about Berlin, and fans and drivers alike who come here know this, that wheel has been clocked to the left since we've been on the racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
You never really get a chance to straighten things out here, do you?
No, never. The only time it's going back towards the other way is if you're free, I should say, or if you're getting in trouble with cars in front of you. Yeah, but you're always turning. That's one thing about Berlin. You want a car that turns. If you're tight, you're scrubbing speed. Everything's about momentum here. Like on weekly races, we get to race with the supers and the crates are combined in one class because it's not about how much horsepower you can put on the racetrack. It's how fast you can keep your car going and rolling. Momentum here is everything.
Sweeping corners, I'm noticing as we're going through here, not quite a double apex, but man, the way that you have to take these corners is very unique. You really, is pivoting, is getting that car to rotate in the center. Is that a big portion of what you guys are looking for in your setup?
Yeah, especially here coming into three. I mean, you get to the bottom of the racetrack, you kind of let it wash up, but as soon as your center apex almost, you want to be back down here off of four and basically getting the straightest shot to the flag stand as you can.
I want to talk about the back straightaway here as we come around down the front stretch. Good shot of the grandstands and all the fans, which has got to be exciting. But the exit of turn two, you talk about it, it's tricky. And it's tricky for another reason too, right, Dylan? If that car takes off on you, you're going to be in for a heck of a ride.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know about Evan, but I've definitely slipped the right rear off the racetrack a few times, and it is not a good feeling. You're definitely hustling the car right back onto the racetrack, but it's almost, it lets you, I can't imagine it with the wall, because without the wall, it lets you push the extra limit and get as much as you can out of the race car. But yeah, it's definitely, you don't want to be over there.
Let's pull out onto the racetrack. Qualifying is important here because it's hard to pass. Take me through your process of laying down a hot lap here at Berlin.
You got to get the little burnout coming out of the pits, and you got to get as much speed as you can. And then you go down in here, you got to crank the wheel. Can't really crank the wheel, but
yeah. In a Chevy Silverado, there's not a lot of cranking going on, right?
Right.
So as you come into turn one, what are the marks? What are you looking for?
Got to get down to the yellow line. Yellow line, and then you drift up like a foot because the track isn't perfectly shaped. And then everything back here should be just nice and fluid.
And then back into three, you're off the yellow line.
Up a little bit here, and then you come back down on the apron. This is one of the trickiest spots. It's where you can pass a lot of people coming out of four there.
So we were talking with Dylan, and you're showing it too. When you come off the yellow line right here to get set up to come back off of turn two, how hard is it to A, get that car rolling and keep it turned, but B, you're opening the door potentially for somebody else to try to cut inside. What's the balance there?
Yeah, I mean, you can, right? But like I said, it's more of an imperfection in the racetrack right there in the center of 1 and 2. So, I mean, they can try and stick it underneath you, but it's going to really screw up their exit at 2.
Now, what about getting into 3? You're up, almost into a second groove there. Is that an opportunity potentially for, let's say, Evan, you're trying to overtake late in the race, and you know that somebody's running that line. Can you shove it into 3 and make something happen?
Yeah, I mean, you can try. It's just tough because it's really rough down there.
We asked Dylan about a second groove, and he said he hasn't found it yet, but he's pretty sure that 22 cars went by him on the outside. How do you make a second groove work here? If you've got somebody that's dedicated to defending the bottom, but you know that your car's a little bit better, how can you get around on the outside?
That's really tough. I mean, it's hard to do under green. I've noticed I can do it after a caution pretty well. But once we're under green, everybody is so fast, you kind of have to root them off the bottom. So yeah, I guess the outside is more of a right after a restart.
What about the back straightaway, Evan? You've raced here your whole life. Have you ever been shoved over? And what's the helplessness like when that happens?
Thankfully, I have not. I've watched a few people go back there, and I've watched a few people hit the tires head on, and it's a bad day, so I try and avoid it at all costs necessary.
And they've done some work back there, too, to try, we talk about it. It's still scary. It's still a bad day, but they put in some work back there to try to make it a little less harsh if you do happen to go over.
Yeah, there's foam and there's tires, but if you hit these ones right here head on, it launch you up in the air, and it's a very bad day.
This is cool. This is Berlin. Berlin is such a unique racetrack, and Dylan, we talked about it. It might be the most unique racetrack on the schedule. Your plan, as we mentioned, Dylan, is different than Evan's. Evan's going to come out here and just try to win at all costs because it's a JEGS Tour race, and he's only got a couple on his calendar. For you, it's a points day. Do you guys come at this event differently, right? I mean, let's talk about that. Dylan, we'll start with you. Do you come into this race being the JEGS Tour opener with a different mindset maybe than Evan does?
I don't. I mean, we're always looking to win, absolutely. But if it came down to it, I guess per se, like we're running for, if we're sitting 5th or whatever, we're not gonna, with 2 to go, like we're not gonna try and get that extra spot. I should say we should stay humble and come home with a clean race car in 5th place. But we're definitely heading into the night with hopes of winning and being up front for sure.
And Evan, we've talked to you enough that we know when you unload the race car, your goal is to win. There's nothing different about the game plan for the 27th, I assume.
No different. I'm not a big fan of points racing. It becomes so stressful and everything. So we elect not to race for points. But yeah, just win at all costs necessary.
All right, guys. Thank you. We appreciate it. We'll see you April 27th. JEGS Tour opener right here at Berlin Raceway.